Started. Hello everyone, welcome to today's water cooler chat where we talk about all things Livepeer, whether it's orchestrating, delegating, broadcasting, transcoding, or developing. We're here to ask questions and answer questions and talk about all things Livepeer. Nothing is off the table. We have an agenda today. Today we have Pablo, who's coming in with a Q&A session. Pablo is developing, I believe, a product called Broadcasstr.xyz, and we're going to be jumping into a Q&A session about, what he's building and all these great things. Okay, Pablo. I got referred to you by Chris, who's a longtime community member here, about your project, Broadcasstr. Do you want to explain to us what Broadcasstr is and how it came about, this idea?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, awesome to be here. So yeah, thanks for having me again. Sorry about the internet connection. I actually know you guys, most of you. I've been in the Live community for a long time already. So yeah, super excited to be talking here today. So yeah, Broadcasstr is something Chris came up to during ETH Berlin. We were having a chat about having live streaming NFTs, right? So instead of having a JPEG, instead of having the NFT point to a JPEG, what would happen if the NFT was pointing to some video stream on Livepeer, right? So I thought that was a pretty cool idea. So at ETH Berlin, we hacked the idea together, and it won first prize for one of the tracks. So yeah, that was super great. And then I really thought that it could be a product in that technology. So we decided to build Broadcasstr as an actual product that content creators could use to live stream their content through NFTs, right? So I think initially the concept is fairly complex to understand because people don't know, like, how can you have live content on an NFT. So the architecture for that, well, that's a small intro. I don't know if you want to talk about the architecture or, yeah.
No, that's great. I find it really fascinating.
Yeah.
For anyone who wants to follow along or get a quick synopsis of what it is, head to Broadcasstr.xyz. I'll put a link in the side chat. But no, let's talk about the infrastructure. Let's just dive straight into it. We don't have much time, so tell us how it works and what challenges you're running into.
Yeah, I'm gonna share also in the chat app.broadcasstr.xyz. We're actually live streaming right now from Denver. We got a small venue where we're doing different concerts, live music concerts, and we're live streaming that through our app. So yeah, so basically the technology to live stream on an NFT, we have a standard ERC 721 token, and the contract Avi is pointing to a JavaScript client that we are hosting on IPFS, even though we're planning to move to Swarm because I think it's much better for storage. And so that client is currently interacting with Livepeer Studio to fetch video based on the broadcast ID. So yeah, that client is. So yeah, basically when OpenSea, for instance, goes to request the metadata from the contract, it sees that the content is an HTTP link, so it renders the content as an iframe. So the client is being rendered as an iframe on OpenSea, and that's why we're able to play back video on OpenSea and any other platform that allows it, basically. So that's a bit of how it works. Yeah.
Right, and so because it's rendering back an iframe, you're also offloading all that that data onto. You're not requiring OpenSea or any of these companies to provide any infrastructure because the iframe should just hand off directly to an endpoint you control, right? Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that I think is the kind of the key of the whole product. Uh, so ultimately, we don't envision people watching content on OpenSea. I think the main idea here is that we abstract all the complexities of getting video, so playing back video on your platform, right? So, like you said, we want to enable developers to create platforms around this technology. We just provide an SDK to render the player, and so an SDK so that the developers can basically query the NFT, get the player, and render it as an iframe in their platform. So we are abstracting all the complexity of basically handling that video connection, like you said. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And then something like Lens Protocol, you could, as long as it properly displays the NFT, and then that app could essentially become a live streaming platform pretty easily.
Yeah. So that's kind of a secret. We're actually developing that right now for the hackathon. So live streaming on Lens. Uh, it's not a secret. But yeah. So Lens basically shares metadata standards with major NFT platforms. So yeah, the same mechanism that we use to render content on NFT platforms, we're gonna use to render content on OpenSea, right? So if Lenster or support rendering HTML content in iframes, then these platforms are able to out of the gate support live streaming with Broadcasttr. So yeah, that's what we are developing now for the hackathon, and we will, yeah, we'll see what happens. But pretty exciting.
That's very exciting. What post type do you use for Lens? Is it like a like I noticed that there's video and image and text and stuff like that. But do you know what post type you would use?
Yeah, there's something called HTML, I think. I don't know if it's
Or is
exactly
it is it
HTML,
in
but
is it HTML or is it embed?
embed. Yeah, 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 exactly. Embed.
Uh,
So yeah, you refer to an HTML link, and they embed it as an iframe.
okay, so
Kind
the
of. Yeah.
embed post type already supports this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So they basically copied NFT structure. Sorry, metadata structure from OpenSea. Yeah. So that is kind of like a problem or a bottleneck that we may face, right? Is that metadata structures are not standardized across platforms. So maybe, yeah, OpenSea is using one standard, but then I don't know, platform number two is using a different metadata standard. So they might not be able to, interact with the live stream because they're not following kind of what they're expecting a different type of metadata. But yeah, I think we are all now reaching a consensus, so everyone's kind of following the same structures, the same JSON structures. Yeah.
Very good. And you said something about IPFS and Swarm before. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. So the HTML code, right? That's rendering the player and everything. We are hosting that. So that's what we call the video client, and we host that on Swarm, basically. So we compile the JavaScript and we deploy it to Swarm, and then we get the Swarm hash, and that is what we store in the metadata, right? So then OpenSea is looking at the metadata, it's seeing a Swarm hash, and it's embedding the Swarm hash into the iframe, basically. So our goal is to kind of have that decentralized infrastructure approach.
Very
I don't know
good.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. It's quite great. Now you said about IPFS. Is IPFS involved with this? Are you moving towards it or away from it?
Yeah, so IPFS is what we're using now, and we're moving away from it to host everything on Swarm. Yeah. So yeah, we're using IPFS through Infura, which is not great. Uh, Me personally, I think IPFS as a protocol is not super great. And the Swarm guys, I really like the community. I think The protocol is great, so we're trying to integrate with it.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Does anyone have any questions so far about to Pablo?
Yeah, I've got a quick question, Docker Swarm.
Yep.
Are you using it for video on demand storage? I guess beyond the use case of just video NFTs, are you using it for longer video storage? And do you see it as a viable storage medium for videos?
Yeah, great question. So for Broadcasttr, we're not using it right now. So I'm also the maintainer of Streameth. I don't know you guys have heard of it. Streameth is something we built. So Livepeer, me, and the EF built this to host virtual events on this platform. So it's an open source platform that event organizers can use to host virtual events, right? So DEFCON was hosted on that. And this month we're gonna host as well. Sorry, next month we're gonna host ETH Portal on that as well. And so for Streameth, we are planning to use Swarm for video storage. They actually have a platform called Etherna. The DEFCON archive is hosted on Etherna. It works great. Latency is great. I think the infrastructure is not fully decentralized, so they host the videos on Swarm, but they built some caching layers. Like they have a custom CDN on top of the storage, so to cache the videos to make it faster. But yeah, definitely Swarm is making good progress in becoming a viable option for storage. Yeah. Yep.
Thanks. That's very interesting to hear you developing on Swarm. Someone else in the Livepeer community recommended that Docker Swarm to me as well. I think it fits into our ecosystem well.
Yeah. I think they're also, like, in terms of value alignment, their community is super aligned with the Livepeer community. They're a close-knit community. They're really helpful. Yeah, I think IPFS. Well, I mean, we're not gonna compare both, and I think IPFS is great. But at the protocol level, I think IPFS, especially for video, is not super optimal, right? Because you're gonna have the bottleneck of ultimately IPFS. One node is hosting everything, and if no one is copying content across the network, right, then it's not really decentralized. So I don't know. I think, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. It's good perspective. Anyone else have any questions for Pablo?
Any other questions out there? Okay, I'm gonna keep asking some more questions because I have a question about features. What do you see? There's lots. I went on the website there. You have a lot of features that this Broadcasttr can accomplish. What are some of the high-level features that you're hoping to accomplish, and that you see the most value in something like this?
Yeah. So the product, it can go in a lot of different ways. I think we're now focusing on building an actual protocol on top of Livepeer. So the idea that I'm realizing is that with having NFTs to live streaming, we're kind of abstracting content from platforms, right? So nowadays, content is trapped in these massive platforms like YouTube or Twitch, right? And they have the leverage to keep acquiring content and trapping it in their own platforms. So with NFTs, the idea is that the content, so the NFTs are immutable, they're always available, and anyone can actually query the contracts, get the content, and build their own platform based on the content they want, right? So that is kind of the long-term vision in which we build this layer of content, and we have developers build niche platforms around the content they want. So that's kind of like I said, the long-term vision. In the short term, we're really focusing on building features around monetization of content. So when you sign up into Broadcasttr, we deploy for you an NFT contract. So, we call that caster contract. And you are the owner of the contract. So all the transactions and the revenue you generate, you keep 100% of it. So we don't take any commission of that. So yeah, we're building different features to help content creators monetize their content. So right now we have descriptions, and descriptions are basically it's just basically calling the main function on the NFT contract. So if you're a viewer and you go to see the content creator stream, you can subscribe and for whatever the content creator wants in terms of price, right? So you can set the subscription price to be thematic. So then you praise that thematic and you mint a copy of the NFT to you, right? To your wallet. And then you can consume that content from wherever you want. That can be OpenSea or it can be your own mobile wallet if rendering the iframe is supported. So yeah, like I said, we have subscriptions, and then we're also developing a new feature that we call advertising bidding. So we're planning to allow viewers to donate a certain amount of Matic and attach a string to that TX. So when depending on how much you donate, the text will appear in the stream for as long as someone else doesn't outbid you, right? So I paint thematic. I can say I can put Pablo as a string, and so Pablo will be on the screen forever, and then someone else can come along and pay 20 Matic and add their string to it, so their string will be on the screen forever. So yeah, we're trying to find out what content creators want in terms of monetization, and we really want to focus on that. Yeah.
That's really fascinating. I actually thought of this idea too, and when you told me that you had already been working on this, I thought, oh wow, this is a good idea, because I was thinking of something along the lines of how Twitch works currently. You can pay to, when you do actions on Twitch, like if you subscribe or donate, it pops up on their screen, and everyone can see your username and what you've done to affect that streamer. And the streamer often replies and interacts with you, right? So that exact ad-based type of contracts where you could, when they add the string that displays, are you encoding that directly into the video? And where does that get done? Is that done by Livepeer?
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. So, we do this on an event basis. So the client that is living on Swarm, right? The client that the client that we developed is listening to events of the contract, right? So we're not embedding this into the video. We're embedding this into the player. The most optimal thing would be to embed it into the video, but that's super complex in terms of this is a really complex process. So we do everything client side basically.
Right, and as long as the NFT is rendered, then the metadata will be displayed, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting, yeah. Well, that's a much simpler way of approaching this than what my brain was ticking through. I was thinking, you could have this ad market and it would be encoded directly into the video, and then therefore you can verifiably you could verifiably prove that this person who paid for the ad actually got it encoded into the video, and people aren't just accepting your bids and then not actually producing this result. Because if you're gonna pay money to a broadcaster or to a streamer, you're gonna want to verify that, or at least know that what you're paying is actually gonna show up on the screen, and they're not just gonna take your money and run.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. And with our approach, you can basically skip that because we're not forcing platforms to use our own video client, right? They could basically get the HLS source and make their own video player and skip ours completely. So what you're saying definitely makes sense. But I think to have these real time interactions and having to encode data into a video stream, I think you're gonna have like all sorts of problems, like with like latency. Yeah, I think it's super complex.
Yeah, well, and that was another. Yeah, that was a problem. Was how do I make it seamless so that the streamer can accept or see that they have um, received a bid or an ad, and then have it. If there's if there's an 8-second delay between the streamer and the encoder, and then the encoder has a 16-second delay to the end user across the world. Like, how does that work in terms of event handling and things like that? So, and then also you have to use FFmpeg and things like this to actually put it into the video, which would also require an upgrade from Livepeer, which could be quite intensive as well.
Yeah. So the best way to do this actually would be if you look at Twitch, they do it. They have a plugin for OBS, right? So the plugin on OBS is listening to a Twitch API that, oh, I guess, right? I'm not too sure, but I think the plugin on OBS is subscribed to an API in Twitch and is reacting to that API, right, to the descriptions. And so what happens is that the plugin is rendering this content at the encoder level, right, in the OBS itself. So that would be also a good way to approach it. Just build a plugin for OBS that is listening to a smart contract, and so you are actually embedding the whatever you want, right, on the string or some custom animation into the video stream from OBS. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. That would be a much simpler way. Before it even hits Livepeer or even gets broadcasted, it's getting encoded directly from the streamer's device.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's how it's being done right now with Twitch.
I wonder if there's a way to game that where you would be able to accept payment and then not show it on screen, and whether that would be an issue or whether people care about that. If you're donating $1, does it really matter if this streamer blocks out your ability, your notification or something? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I think there's like social. So content creator is so much of a social game, right? And I think, yeah, maybe you're able to scam someone a few times, but afterwards, no one is gonna donate to you because you know you're a scammer. So I think sometimes in Web3 we're like really focused on making systems that are unbreakable and uncheatable, but we also have the social layer of interactions that make sure that scammers get put in the right place, right?
Well, the way you guys are building it, by making it NFT based, it would be pretty easy then to build for somebody else to build an OBS plugin that could listen to events based on that NFT, and you could build this out on top of Broadcasstr. Is kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that can definitely work. Yeah, so we're trying to. So when I say we're building a protocol, I think I'm kind of using like big words, but how people interact with this, with live streaming NFTs, right? So that, like you said, people can come in later and have a clear way to build applications around this kind of content, which is fairly new, right? I think no one has done live streaming NFTs yet. So yeah, definitely we want to encourage people in the long term to build on top of the protocol.
Great. I know you got to go soon. But a couple last question for me: how do you pay for the infrastructure? Live streaming costs money. How does the infrastructure bill get paid?
Yes, great question. So right now we're using Livepeer Studio, and we're just paying for bandwidth. I mean, we don't have we don't have to worry about bandwidth right now because we don't have that many users. But ultimately, I think we want to skip Livepeer Studio and we want to tap into the Livepeer protocol directly. So we were thinking about different ways to monetize. We were thinking about running some validators on the network. So that's kind of approach one. And then approach two would be we're thinking about releasing really in the long term, right? We haven't really thought about this properly, but some kind of token that people can use to interact with our platform. So it would be kind of a utility token that people could use to interact with the Broadcasttr application. And we were thinking about two use cases right now. So one interesting use case would be that viewers could stake towards content creators to kind of verify that they are, producing not only quality content but also content that's morally acceptable, let's say. So that is like one of the ideas. And then we're also thinking about building what's to earn features with Superfluid. I don't know if you guys know Superfluid, but they're like a token streaming protocol. And so for me, it would be interesting to look into building, like I said, what's to earn into Broadcasttr.
What about the idea of the people that pay for the ads, right? The people that pay for this string. Would you be able to take a portion of those payments and direct it towards infrastructure, like a Broadcasttr deposit, like a deposit for the Livepeer network, so it could pay for the transcoding and the CDN and all these kinds of things?
Yeah. So of course, like the first thing you think about when building a business model is, taking cuts of the service you provide. But ultimately, I think we have the chance to build a business model that doesn't rely on taking cuts, right? I see taking cuts as a Web 2 approach, kind of. And ultimately, I think if you start taking cuts, you're gonna end up like Twitch right now, right? So Twitch keeps increasing their revenue split with content creators because they're not able to keep up with infrastructure costs for live stream. And so they keep taking and taking. So I think with like token economics, Web3 companies can make can disrupt their relations with the clients and find innovative ways to build companies without having to rely on this taking a percentage of X. So that's how I see things right now.
So you believe the fee cut model is too much Web 2, and we can move away from that, and so you're looking at different ideas. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Interesting. It's a very fresh look on things. Yeah, because I use waves for Lens protocol to boost my posts, and their whole thing is they take a fee, and I thought, oh, interesting. Like, yeah, I don't mind paying for the fee, but I also can see someone else, what is it called, vampire forking, and then just lowering the fee or eliminating the fee. You get the same service, and I think, I wonder if that is a problem with the fee model as well, right?
Yeah, I mean we're seeing it right now with OpenSea and all this like royalty war that's going on right now. All this royalty war is happening because these platforms haven't innovated in the way they make money. So they're still relying on a Web 2 model in the Web 3 world, right? So now they have huge problems with enforcing royalties. It's a huge mess, right? So we should really also try and rethink how we build companies, how we in Web3. Yeah.
Very cool. Pablo, I know you're busy. You probably got the rest of your conference to go to. Do we have any last questions or comments for Pablo from the community? Awesome. We'll leave it at that. Pablo, thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate your time. I know I will watch the app.broadcasstr.xyz stream here, and please keep us posted on any updates you're doing, especially with the hackathon coming up. If you want us to beta test something or give us a leak on what you're working on, we would absolutely love it. So we're here to support you, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with us.
Yeah, super great. Yeah, really thank you for having me. I think this is a great initiative, the water cooler. If you guys want to have the water cooler on Broadcasttr at some point, we can also do that as a demo. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, set me up an account,
yeah.
and I can start streaming, because like right now I've got OBS just recording, but I could easily just stream it to an endpoint. So if you want to hook me up with an endpoint and an ability to stream through an NFT, I will 100% do that.
Cool. All right, guys. Super awesome. Thank you for having me. See you around.
All right. Thank you for joining us, and good luck on your hackathon.
Yes. Thanks. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
All right. That was great. Wow. Really, really cool to see the innovation there going on with that kind of stuff. I'm glad he's building it onto top of Lens. I think Lens could really benefit from a live streaming application.
Yeah, live streaming is new to Lens, right? Or I don't know of anyone who's done that yet. So that's a big change.
Yeah, there really isn't any Lens live streaming yet, as far as I'm concerned. I've got pretty big Lens following, and I've been really active on it, and I still have yet to see a Lens live stream post. The closest is just LensTube, which is just video uploading VOD, which works surprisingly good, actually.
Yeah, that's really great innovation, and probably in quick time too with the hackathon. Can't wait to see the results.
Yeah, that's a really cool product they're building. So hopefully, yeah, streaming through an NFT, and then you can just watch it on any platform. That's pretty fascinating. I also like his approach around like different ways to think about monetizing, because my idea was around fees. You just take 10%, it goes to infrastructure, but his idea was that was just still too old Web 2 thinking. There needs to be more tokenomics involved, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how you would pay for the transcoding if you're not taking fees, right? That's an interesting concept.
Yeah, I like how Xenon's doing that, where the user can put down the cost for the streaming. I mean, it is really a change from the ad supported model. So at least on that side of things, I think that's good.
You mean
definitely lots of sort of like business models.
The streamer pays for it?
Yeah. I was playing around with Xenon the other day. I think you have to put a price to. You have to use like DAI tokens, DAI, to stream or upload a video. If I'm not mistaken, maybe I misunderstood it, but that's what it looked like.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Well, LensTube is similar. If you want to upload to Arweave, you have to pay. But IPFS is free. But as he was saying, IPFS is maybe not the best platform for video anyway. Sounds like he's been investigating Swarm quite a bit, which I haven't done much looking into Swarm. I'll have to do some research on it. He seems pretty knowledgeable about it.
I heard good things. Christopher, I think he's in Ireland. That guy. He reached out to me earlier last week to talk about Docker Swarm, and I did some reading on it, went through the technical stuff, and it's really revolutionary. I mean, it seems like it can deliver and host a lot of data. It almost is like its own CDN, and it integrates directly with Ethereum. So you could probably use it as a CDN as well as data storage. Probably integrate well with that VOD stack.
Fascinating. Yeah, he totally shot down my idea around encoding it directly into the video. as soon as he mentioned he just adds it as metadata onto the NFT and uses event handling to display it in the NFT, I was like, oh, I think this guy's smarter than me. Like, he picks a much simpler, more effective way to do something. I was like, yeah, we'll like add this, like we'll upgrade the Livepeer network to allow event encoding, and it'll like do full page ads and you get paid for it, and he's like, oh, you just embed it into the client side and make it listen to the NFT. I'm like, oh, that seems a lot easier. So there we go. Great. Let's move on a little bit. Any comments or last questions about Broadcasttr or what they thought of the idea? Yeah, I'm pretty excited for the idea of him. I'm glad that he's doing the Lens hackathon idea.
I'm really curious to see how it goes when you try it, because honestly, I was having a very hard time understanding and just hearing what was going on because of all the background noise, and my it's a little loud where I am, so I was just having a hard time following along. But I'm curious to see it in action. And I tried to watch the stream that he linked to, and it was freezing for me. So um, I would also maybe like to have him come back in the future when he's in a clear space where I can understand what he's saying better.
Right. There you go.
You seem to be doing a great job of understanding everything. So so I know something on my end, but yeah. So yeah.
Well, one of the only reasons I had so many questions is because I've been thinking about this for the last week on how to develop something like this. But it turns out he's already doing it, and he's doing it better. So I'm already like really curious as to how he's going about it. And then on top of that, I got some pretty good headphones on, so I was able to hear pretty good.
I was impressed that I was like, he would say something, I'm like, I couldn't understand a word he said, and then you're like, okay, so and I was like, oh, okay, well, it must be something on my side. But yeah, I am curious to see if he gives you a login, how it all works, and that probably make more sense to me then.
Yeah, it was hard to listen, but I got the gist of it.
Yeah, same here. I've got some headphones that are pretty tight. It was hard to hear.
Yeah, mine are not as good as I thought they were, I guess.
Cool. Okay, I want to move on to as well. Okay, do we have any other topics we'd like to cover?
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, Mahmood's not here, but he brought up I don't remember if it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, the having us get paid for decoding as well as encoding by pixel amounts. And I don't know if everyone here is aware that Livepeer now takes feature requests that are new, like not as GitHub issues anymore. There's a site called I guess it's canny.io, livepeer.canny.io. I was just wondering if everyone's aware of that, and if anyone's gone in and taken a look at his request, made comments on it, because I think it's something that I'd like to see implemented. And then on that, along with that, I made a comment on it, on his proposal, and Hunter asked me to split it out into a separate one because it's related, but it goes deeper and to other ways for us to get paid for doing encoding into other formats that take more compute power. And there's been some discussion on that as well, and actually I'll post a link to it in the chat. I just thought it would be good if you guys could, if have thoughts on it, if you could peek over there and comment on either one of them, just to let the team know that interesting stuff, or you have good ideas. It would be nice to hear from everyone. So go ahead and post that into the chat. And that also gives you guys an idea of where to put future feature requests as well, if you're not already aware.
Great. Yeah, I'd also like to bring up the GitHub grant, or the grant proposal by Mahmood. If anyone has seen it or has not seen it, please chime in. He wants to add, I don't know if anyone is familiar with Bubble. the low code / no code kind of like front end for building apps. It's got something like 12 million users or something. I've actually used it once. It was pretty cool. I built a little app, a little like dicing app on it. But it's gaining a lot of popularity, and so he wants to build a plugin for Bubble that uses Livepeer, so that people that want low code, no code options that are also very price sensitive, they can build on top of Livepeer. So I just posted it in the chat.
And he has it. Oh, okay. You saved me from having to go find that.
Yeah, but comment on it. Mahmood he comes from this world of live streaming professionally, with Amazon, so he's got a pretty good grasp on kind of maybe the industry. Yeah. So anyway, comment on that post, and if we can get him a grant to build something like that, I think that could also drive more traffic.
Cool. I got it open. I'll read it after the article.
I also wanted to bring up another topic that Vary's brought up since the last week. Vary's, I'm not sure if you're here, but you mentioned that the 2 out of 3 multi-sig is probably a weak point. And then there's been the latest news of a court order with Wormhole, and that I believe it's that exact same thing where the upgradable contract was utilized in court to pay people back. Do we have any solutions or anything that we can think of for helping that, or any ideas around that?
I mean, there are not that many solutions in general. So either one would be to increase the multi-sig size to maybe also some other people in other jurisdictions, other countries. But if we increase it too much, we lose the ability to quickly react in case of an emergency. And the other thing would be just to make the contracts non-upgradable at all. Just go the fully decentralized route, which should be our focus, I think, in the long term at least. Because we're even a protocol that has more potential attack points than a simple DeFi protocol, because we have we're a streaming or a transcoding protocol, so that comes with various content issues. If we reach a certain scale, some people might use it to transcode movies or football games and all kind of stuff that could cause an issue in the future.
So how does it work if you make the contract non-upgradable? What happens if how do you upgrade? Is there never an upgrade then from that point on? Or I just don't understand enough about how the smart contracts and protocols work as far as down the future, or in the future, if there's reason to upgrade, not even for security reasons, but if you want to add features or things like that, are you locked in at that point?
Yeah, you're basically locked in, but you have to keep the client software and the smart contract side separate. So, the last update on the smart contracts was basically the Arbitrum migration, and since then I think we had 1 or 2 bug fixes that were not critical, but still good to have them fixed. Yeah, it's basically if you could still have certain functions. For example, you could have the issuance rate or the interest rate. You could have that one made adjustable through a DAO vote, and certain other features you could have locked, the minting,
Okay, so
tokens
so
on
it is
demand,
possible
and
to like kind of almost split the contract into different sections where you could maybe lock down a part so that what happened with Wormhole isn't something that Livepeer would be vulnerable to, but there could be some types of ability to upgrade other areas. I understand different also for the client, but just as far as the contract goes, could that be split into multiple contracts?
right now we have like 10 different contracts or so, right, for the whole protocol, with like one for the round, one for the bonding,
Okay, right. Yeah,
even
that's a
for
good
like
point.
the service URI. So maybe it would be nice to have like Dogs and Yonden's input on this, on how feasible it is to lock certain features down, like make them immutable, and have maybe like other features still have them adjustable. Really, I'm not technical enough to know how difficult that would be, but it's certainly possible.
Interesting. Yeah, because I think that's definitely. I mean, talk about the timing. I mean, you were talking about it, and then next week it happens. So, and that's just one example, but it certainly was very eye-opening. I mean, it was eye-opening when you mentioned it, and then to see it actually happen in the real world, especially so quickly, it really hit home. So I think that it's definitely something that we should, as community members, really sit down and think about, and maybe make a proposal for some changes that we'd like to see.
If the contract became non-upgradable, does that essentially make LIPs non-existent?
Essentially, if we lock down every feature, and for sure, I mean, the only thing you could put an LIP forward is like to move to a V2 of the Livepeer protocol. Like if everybody else is on board, and we just agree to migrate everything to this new protocol.
So, like, how would something like that work? Like for like if we wanted to like switch from Arbitrum to another, L2 or something, like would we be able to do that?
Yeah, I mean, the difficulty is like we have to stop the current Livepeer token has to stop being used, and since like the contract is immutable, you can't just simply pause it like what was done with on L1. So
Right. That's why.
basically, you need to convince all the exchanges, all like the whole community, that the old version of Livepeer, of the Livepeer token, is worthless, and yeah, we just care about the new version now.
It seems like that could be difficult. I mean, I don't know if that would be a problem, but it certainly something to give a lot of thought to.
But if we're talking about non-upgradable, like at that point, like let's say we had an upgradable version, but the multi-sig was some ridiculous format, like 99 out of 100, right? Like just you have 99 signatures, and if there was a bug fix, it would take you a week to gather everyone to put in their sigs. Like, it's terrible, but at least you could fix a bug. Whereas like the non-upgradable just means even a small bug, or if it is a big bug, you would have to completely abandon the token and switch everybody over to a new token in all the AMMs, all the exchanges, all the people using it. And you would also have to build some sort of contract that would allow maybe people to burn and redeem their old tokens into the new tokens, which would then affect the inflation. Like going from V1 to V2 would be very difficult, whereas like it would be a lot easier to have 99 out of 100 signatures, theoretically.
I mean, in theory, you could keep like it depends which part of the contract you want upgraded right now. If you like keep the minter contract the same. You can just have a new bonding contract and just like basically use the same token again, right? You can stake the same Livepeer token. So that would definitely be like the worst case if like the token minter there's like a bug in there and suddenly like infinite LPT get minted. But at that point you need to move to a new token anyway. But otherwise you can basically upgrade your protocol but keep the Livepeer token address the same. It's just like a matter of unstaking from the old bonding contract and restake to the new bonding contract, for example.
Right. So you wouldn't have to create a whole new token in that case.
No, in that case not. Like a new token is definitely like the worst case. That could happen if there was like a critical bug somewhere and we need to move. Currently, you could just pause the protocol, fix it. If the contracts would be immutable, you wouldn't be able to pause it. So if there was an attack vector where you can mint an infinite supply of LPT, then basically you need to move to a new token contract.
Yeah, difficult question. I mean, like you said, there's more attack vectors for Livepeer that aren't just economical. They're like, because we're doing live video, so there's that side of things. And then there's also this off-chain side of things too, about tickets are issued and redeemed, or tickets are issued and hashed off-chain, right? So you have this other aspect of code that could go wrong, that you might want to upgrade the on-chain protocol to reflect off-chain changes, right? If I'm not mistaken. So
You mean like the winning tickets or like the payments?
like what if the yeah, I guess so. What if there's a way to manipulate what if there's a bug in the off-chain protocol that would affect your winning tickets, and you'd have to change that, but in turn you might have to change the on-chain protocol to reflect changes, right?
Yeah, but if there were a bug in like the client software, I mean, worst case right now, it would just deplete like the balance of the broadcasters. If you like exploit it to pay out much more, so that's not that bad in my opinion. Like bugs like that. But right now, like in general, I think we have like a pretty bad situation with Livepeer Inc. holding all the multisigs, makes us like very attackable regarding the court orders or like jurisdictionary like attacks. If the US government thinks, well, or even like where Livepeer Inc. is incorporated, if like that state thinks crypto should become illegal, then they have to basically pause it, right, until they figure out the next steps. So in that regard, it would certainly help if we could increase the multisig size to some other, like distribute it more globally around the world, so that not like a single entity, a known entity, has the power to shut down the whole protocol.
Well, varies. I think you should get a key. You're in a good spot. And maybe I'll take a key. I'm all over the place. We'll be good. Papa Bear, I'd give you a key. And John, I'd give you a key, but I think you're in the same jurisdiction as...
I'm in California. It's probably the worst place you could have a key for anything.
Yeah, it might be true. But yeah, so...
We pay so much. They'd get us for so much in taxes somehow. I would never put the protocol at that kind of risk.
Yeah, they just drive a tank on your house and find it.
Yeah, I mean, right.
They just audit you with the IRS. Okay, here's the key.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. Well, yeah, that's an interesting topic. I'm not sure how much input we have on it, or obviously Doug is seeking input from the community, so it's good to have this conversation.
It sounds like an international collection of members would be a good idea.
Probably. Yeah. That is true.
I certainly think more than two people is a good idea. Also, just at a very, very, very minimum.
Yeah, 2 people, more than 2, and multi-jurisdiction. That'd be a good start. Be a really good start. All right. Any other topics? We've been at this for an hour and a half, but I think we've lost quite a few people. We were having a good discussion about the router, but all the people that were into it, I think, are gone.
Yeah, so many people hung out this time for the whole thing. Yeah, I'm just looking at my dashboard right now. I'm at 0 sessions, so I know there's no one here that could fix it, but certainly something is going on behind the scenes. So that actually kind of leads me to something. It's like, now with the restructuring of Livepeer and like, how do we know I don't know who to contact or like tag on things anymore, like how do we figure that out? Or is that I mean, what do you guys do? I mean, I saw varies that you tagged HJ, his name's Potter, in that in addition to Tom and Hunter, who I tagged before. But like, I'm just like, now, like, I feel like I don't know who to tag, and I don't want to have to bother Yondon and stuff like that. So I feel like since the change, or I don't know who to like tag for a lot of stuff anymore. I don't know if it's maybe if we want to bring that up in discussion at some point to figure out like who's filling in for what, or who's taken over certain roles that maybe don't exist anymore, or like I don't even know who do you tag now if there's a new orchestrator online and you want to get them the orchestrator tagline. I don't know who to tag for that.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, Shiyu took over a bunch of things, community wise, or Discord management too. He's trying to.
Yeah, so I guess my point was just in general. I guess I just don't know. I feel like like I don't know who to tag for certain types of things, and
the community admin role is who you could tag. So I think Adam is that too. So,
and I mean, I will say I do really like that. Doug is very active in Discord now, and I feel like it's a little bit more back to when I first started. And, a lot, more of the bigger guys up are hanging out and seeing the stuff that's going on in the Discord. So I do like that. I just don't know who to really contact now, and I don't want to bother the wrong person and stuff like that. So I don't really know what I'm asking, but I don't know. But
I just bother whoever, and then eventually someone will do something.
Fair enough.
But the newcomers are going to be asking Papa Bear, who do I ask? So you got to figure it out. You got to. I'm just as confused as you are. So I just tag.
Right.
Tag people that I think, and I mean, I've been tagging people that aren't even employed, and they're like, "Oh, I'm not here anymore." I'm like, "Oh,
okay, fair enough."
Yeah, did we lose Chase? Is that he's still a resource?
I think Chase is still around.
Adams? No. Chase, yeah, he's still here.
Okay, I don't know why I thought that. I just saw some activity that made me think he was gone or something. That's good.
Oh, I think I think he shut down his orchestrator, but he's still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or was planning to shut down.
And he's got a different colored name because they gave him channel admin, which is like higher than Livepeer core contributor for whatever reason. So it's a purple name, I think. I don't know.
I thought that just meant you had nitro. What do I?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know either.
Cool. All right. Well, what we'll do is I think we'll end it. We'll end it a bit early. We'll end it now. Because I've got a nice beach to go to. Actually, I think we're going to go swimming in the ocean today. So I'm going to cut it down early. And yeah, this was fun. I'm glad we got Pablo to actually get his mic working. I can feel his pain. I've been at the ETH San Francisco conference where like none of the Wi-Fi, nothing worked. There's just way too many people connected to routers, and it's just dead. People downloading like gigabyte packages, and like it's just brutal. Um, so yeah, hopefully he does well, and I'm pretty bullish on his little idea around Broadcasstr.xyz. I think that's actually a really cool idea.
Cool. And I'm also, yeah, keep us posted on the router.
Yeah,
Definitely
it's
something that I
been
think a
an
lot of us are
interesting
interested in.
ride. Brad is pretty busy, so like I still have a broken version of his, and it's so like if you get a get orchestrator request before the thing like finishes its startup, it crashes. So you have to
Mhm.
enable your firewall to not accept requests on the port, launch the program, and then reopen the port so that you'll get requests after it's launched. Like so,
Oh, why don't we
Oh,
start the server after it's got everything it needs? Like
yes.
to receive. Yeah.
So and then he fixed the issue, but then it created another issue. So
Oh.
the new version he has is not even workable. It doesn't work. It doesn't run at all. Um,
you know what? I do have a question about that. Sorry, I don't want to keep you from the beach, but I do have one question. Um, did you say there's a one of the routers acts as the master router, and then the other ones all communicate with that?
Yeah.
It's not like a ring where any of them can get the request
no,
and then
it's a ring. He made it like a ring, so any node that receives a request will return a response.
so there is no real master router. I thought
No,
like you'd mentioned that one
Yeah.
not today, but I thought maybe one other time you mentioned something about it there being a
I have
master
to
router in it.
differentiate though because I have to say master because you have to pick one router that answers all of them, and
Oh, you
you,
do. So you do. I think so. If you that's what it was. So somewhere you wrote. I don't. I think this was. I don't remember where, but you mentioned that like if that master one goes down, then everything's off. Like you lose everything. There's no
well,
redundancy in it.
yeah. So you need to now. This is where you have to go back to the DNS thing, where you need a failover, but that the failover is not built into the router, right? So like just the way it works, you can ping any router and it'll come back with a response of the closest router, right? But on chain, you only have one service URI. So you need to set that up so that you, if let's say you just add a static IP address, the router, if the router's down, then that router will kill the rest of your network, right? Even though your other routers
So
are
you would
up.
still. So you'd still really like need to set up something like a like. Um,
Health
I mean,
checks.
I guess there's a lot of health checks. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
what I would do is I would set up health checks and then just have the DNS fail over to different router, and then that would fix the problem.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Yeah. All right. Yeah. That was my. That I remember. I don't remember where you said it, but I remember hearing that. Going. I thought it was like they all work independently, but.
yeah, they work
But I
independently,
understand.
but
But
on chain you only get
yeah, but
one.
yeah,
So
what you said, yeah, that totally makes sense.
yeah, so I would have to go on. The thing is, I was trying to avoid a third party service altogether, um, but the failover and health check part seems like a pretty reliable and easy solution already provided by Amazon or wherever you're with. I was just trying to get away from the latency rules of Amazon because they weren't working for me. Like I
Yeah,
wanted,
no, because you need to be using Amazon servers or you can't use latency.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to run a server in like wherever Central Africa. Like there's no infrastructure there for testing latency. So I was like, well, probably best just to have it ping the closest, the fastest response, and let that one come back always, right? Um, and like have it actually be the fastest, not just assuming the fastest based on your location, your lat long, right? Because that's what Amazon does. Just based on your lat long, it just triangulates how far you are, and so it guesses that's the fastest. But the pipes might be faster somewhere else, so you might as well pick the fastest pipe.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand what you're trying to do, and I get the issue.
It's got some caching to it too, so it's pretty quick. I think we saw like milliseconds or microseconds sometimes in those responses.
Yeah, and
Really good.
And so now I'm thinking about I'm thinking about making the pool, like opening up more nodes that are outside of Livepeer Inc. So like Mumbai, in India, Hong Kong, Japan, Australia, and a couple more regions I'm thinking of are really important. And now with the router, I can just have that running. And so if anyone ever wants to try the Livepeer network, they can just they're going to get a good response. Although I don't have anyone connected in those areas, so that's another issue about running a pool. But
chicken and the egg thing, you know.
Yeah.
If you get someone connected, they're not going to get any work, and and if someone connects and you don't have a transcoder there, it doesn't do you any good. So.
Yeah. So, but like, hey, if I, but there's a lot of people that connect in the Philippines that are too far away from Singapore. But I'm like, why don't I just spin one up in the Philippines and let them just be there? Like, they're not going to earn much. They're probably going to disconnect and connect, but like, whatever,
I'm shocked at how many people are willing to sit in a pool and not make anything. So yeah, you're onto something there.
Well, I pay them uptime rewards, so they actually.
Oh, that's true.
They actually
all right.
like it.
Yeah, you do give them incentive to stay connected.
Yeah, they just get an incentive to just. I mean, it's a very small incentive, but people, hey, it's something.
It's enough. It's enough.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to make it like more globally reachable, all the nodes and stuff, and like make it fast and reliable everywhere, not just in New York.
Yeah, no, we've definitely gotten very used to building around Livepeer Studio.
Yeah, I think we need to get away from that a little bit. Yeah, bada boom. Cool. Any last comments, questions before we sign off?
Enjoy the beach.
Thanks, man. Yeah,
all right.
We'll see. So I did back-to-back people for Q&A. So hopefully, I probably won't do another one for a while. But yeah, if you can think of anyone or talk to anyone that wants to do a Q&A, just hit me up and we'll get them on.
Sounds good. See you guys here next week.
All right. Thanks, everyone. See you next week. Cheers.
Thanks, Joe.